And out west in Coutts, Alberta, the RCMP have called a 4-day-long freedom convoy protest an unlawful blockade. And it continues tonight after earlier signs it might be breaking up.
The Private Motor Truck Council of Canada issued a statement today that reads in part, "The desecration of national monuments of our fallen heroes, such as the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and the statue of Terry Fox, were disgraceful and disrespectful acts. The images we saw of people carrying the rebel flag, swastikas, wearing the yellow Star of David, engaging in disrespectful behaviors and refusing to wear masks and follow public health guidelines while in public places, as well as stealing food from the Shepherds of Good Hope Food Kitchen, were reprehensible acts that upset us all." To discuss the impacts of all of this, we welcome to CP24 tonight Coutts Mayor Jim Willette and PMTC President Mike Millian. We appreciate both of you making time. Mayor Willette, it looked like that blockade was going to open up and everyone was going to go home. The RCMP saying this is an unlawful blockade and threatening arrests. But what is going on where you are right now?
It's hard for me to tell what's going on. I kind of get told what's happened at the end of the day. What I have heard, of course, is what I just heard on your report there as well, that the blockade or the protest group has been added to by people that, for whatever reason, decided to come this way. And
taking pictures of our house right now.
Sorry, there's a disruption going on here. What's happened is that they're adding to the blockade, and the conflict is going on out on the highway as we speak.
Right. And Mayor, you've referred to this as an occupation in your town. We understand the RCMP have started what's called an enforcement operation to try and end this blockade in Coutts tonight. That's clearly not happening yet. Can you tell us if any arrests have been made, and what do you make of what is unfolding in your town tonight?
I tell you, I'm a little nervous. There have been reinforcements to the convoy all day long, and my wife was just telling me now that there's someone taking pictures of my house. So I just am a little nervous. It started out as a protest, which I can perfectly agree with. I've never said anything about the protest itself. You've got that right. That's one of the freedoms that we have. And then it quickly deteriorated into a blockade. And at that point, I can't support that. I've got residents that, there's one's an Afghan vet. She was in the Afghan conflict, and he had to leave the town right away because this had triggered her PTSD. I've got a senior population. A lot of people are nervous because you don't. We're a rural Alberta town that is ordinarily very quiet and peaceful, and now you've got a lot of outsiders here, and you've got things happening on the highway, and it's very difficult to leave town if you want to leave. So it is like an occupation, and I totally support whatever the RCMP have to do to get them out of here.
And Mike, we want to get you in on this conversation, but Mayor, I have to ask you, with people in front of your house right now taking photos, are you concerned about your safety? Have you ever been confronted on this? What have the interactions been like?
No, there have been no interactions. Well, other than snide emails and a phone call or two, but we've never had any interaction with the protesters. They have never contacted the village about anything and set up camp. They have supporters here amongst my population, and been very careful not to do anything to antagonize anybody. But it has, because of the polarization, then you wind up with people on this side and people on that side, and arguments happen and friendships get torn up, and it's a stress that nobody here expected or wants.
Mike, I'm really interested to get your thoughts on this as we hear the mayor of Coutts saying there are people outside his home tonight taking photos. A lot of people are on edge. We know the Private Motor Truck Council of Canada has released a statement saying the majority of the trucking industry was not involved in that convoy in Ottawa in any way. And for the protesters who are still there tonight, it is time to pack up and leave. How do your members feel about this?
Well, excuse me, sorry about that. I mean, we've said right from the start as an association, we protect, agree with people's rights to peacefully protest, as the mayor has said. So that part wasn't an issue. And our association has been on the record of being against these vaccine mandates. While we're in favor of vaccines, we're against the mandates that hurt the, excuse me, the amount of truck drivers that we're already short in this industry. But what we can't support is what we're seeing now. You went in Saturday, I mean, the swastikas and all the bad stuff we talked about. In my opinion, and from what I've heard of people on the ground, the majority of that was from protesters that latched on to this convoy. The majority of it was not the truckers themselves. There was reports of truckers going to No Frills to replace the food at the Shepherds of Good Hope, cleaning up the Terry Fox statue, buying flowers for the war memorial. So we were glad to hear these good things as well. But, we're into day 4 here now, and who's ever left there, no matter what your reason was for going, whether it was the border vaccine mandate or this whole other thing that it's turned into, people in Ottawa have their right of freedoms too. They have the right to live in their house peacefully. They have the right to go to work, take their kids to school. And there's a lot of small businesses there that could have opened up yesterday that now they're being affected. So everybody has the right to peacefully protest. But there comes a point when you start infringing on the rights of others. Well, whose rights outweigh those? Like, if we're fighting for freedoms, it has to be for everybody's freedoms. And we're affecting the freedoms of the people in Ottawa who have been part of this for 4 or 5 days now. And what's going on at Coutts? You're affecting an already weakened supply chain. There's stories of truck drivers. So your fellow truck drivers that have been stuck on the U.S. side for 48 hours and can't get across the border. And it's in a rural area, so there isn't a lot of services around. So, I mean, we understand everybody, it's a hot button issue. And no matter what side you're on, I mean, there's ways to protest. And in our view, that this isn't it.
Mayor Willette, what did you make of those truckers stranded south of the border without food or medication?
Well, it's a situation that should never have happened. There's nothing we can do about it until they come through the border. They get on our side, then we can offer them any kind of assistance that they need. But with the blockade, they have. I don't know if there's something happening on the south side. The Canadian border never closes, so if they approach the border, they should be given entry into the country. And once they get on the north side, like I say, we can provide assistance to them. But it's I've heard that there's a blockade on the south side of the border, and I don't know anything about that.
Mike, there's been a video shared online in the last 24 hours of vaccinated truckers stuck on the U.S. side of that blockade, pleading for help. I wonder what you thought of that video, and how does this hurt the truckers who are vaccinated, who want to be on the job and who just want to get on with it?
Yeah, well, and I mean, there's obviously a divide in society too. I mean, the vaccine mandate itself, there's vaccinated and unvaccinated drivers who are not in favor of the vaccine mandate. There's also vaccinated drivers who obviously are in favor of it. But the issue with what you're doing now, you're affecting, these drivers didn't make the decision to put the mandate in place. And it's them that are being affected at the border right now, right? I read where one driver went 300 miles out of his way to cross in BC just so he could get across the border because of the delays of trying to get across the border because of the blockades. And there was a lineup of 150 trucks, and that's now affecting their ability to make money, and lost his reload. So it's not only affecting our supply chains, it's affecting others' health and safety who have nothing to do with the mandate that the government put in place. So obviously when somebody's held up for 2 days for something that is nothing of their doing, it's going to upset them and fray some nerves, and it's it's put some people in some very tough situations that they shouldn't have to be in.
So, Mike, your group supports vaccinations but not mandates, and your statement ends with encouraging everyone to speak up, defend your industry, defend your fellow human beings. Is there a lot of work ahead now to defend the trucking industry to Canadians and the rest of the world that's been watching?
I hope the public understands that what they see on the media of the hate speech and the signs and the stuff that was done to monuments. I hope they see past that and realize that, first of all, a lot of that wasn't even done by drivers. And second of all, whether you agree with them or not, the reports we're hearing from people that were on the ground is the majority of the truck drivers there were peaceful, polite, respectful, and just there to speak out about a mandate. So I'm hopeful that the public understands that what you've seen from the hate part of things. Was there some truckers in it? Of course there was. Truckers are part of society, and unfortunately we have racist and people full of hate as a small minority in our society, so you're going to have it as a small minority in any industry you're in. But I hope people realize that this isn't the trucking industry and what they represent. The majority of them are hardworking individuals out there keeping our shelves stocked every day to feed their families, and so we can feed ours. So I hope that's what people take home for a message.
Mm-hmm. And to address all of that racism in all the industries. Mike Millian and Mayor Jim Willette, we appreciate both of you making time for us. We wish you well out there in Coutts.